In a world growing increasingly hostile toward traditional masculinity, the emergence of men going their own way philosophy marks not a retreat, but a noble return to individual sovereignty. At its core, men going their own way is a rebellion not against women or society per se, but against a system that demands men sacrifice themselves, financially, emotionally, spiritually, without reciprocal reward or recognition. It is a movement that dares to remind men that their value is not determined by the validation of external forces. In walking away, these men are not abandoning duty, virtue, or responsibility. They are, in fact, reviving a sacred commitment to self-mastery. They are stepping off a treadmill built on false promises and instead choosing to forge their own paths, guided by inner purpose rather than societal expectation. This choice to walk a solitary path is not a new invention. It is the echo of ancient wisdom. The Stoics of Rome, Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, championed a life governed by reason and internal control, not external validation. They taught that the good life is found not in chasing the applause of the crowd, but in cultivating one's own soul. In the same vein, men going their own way embodies the Stoic ideal, choosing freedom over approval, virtue over vanity. It calls men to recognize that true contentment comes from living in accordance with one's own nature and not bending the knee to the shifting demands of an increasingly chaotic society. In an era that weaponizes shame to control male behavior, the act of going one's own way is not merely brave. It is the highest form of philosophical courage. Moreover, the spirit of men going their own way resonates with the teachings of Lao Tzu and the Taoist masters, who preach the importance of non-resistance to external chaos and the wisdom of flowing naturally with the course of life. In a society that seeks to mold men into tools for corporate profit or political agendas, these men emulate the sage who withdraws from the marketplace of noise and corruption. They choose simplicity over entanglement, clarity over confusion. They become living examples of Wu Wei, effortless action, where life is no longer about constant struggle for approval, but about moving in harmony with their deepest convictions. By disengaging from the rat race of modern dating, consumerism, and approval seeking, they find the stillness from which authentic strength emerges. Across the ages, in distant lands and different tongues, wise men have pondered the fundamental nature of existence and the internal battles that define the human condition. Two of the most potent philosophies to emerge from this struggle, Stoicism from ancient Greece and Rome, and Taoism from ancient China, offer men of today a roadmap for not merely surviving the chaos, but mastering it. Though born continents apart, Stoicism and Taoism converge on key truths: that peace lies within, that control is an illusion, and that wisdom is found not in reshaping the world, but in reshaping oneself. For the modern man grappling with the complexities, demands, and contradictions of today's relationships with women, these ancient teachings are more relevant than ever. They form the foundation of an inner citadel, a place where no insult, no betrayal, no manipulation can breach the soul's serenity. At the heart of both Stoicism and Taoism is an unwavering emphasis on internal control. The Stoic stands firm against fortune's tempests, echoing Epictetus's cry that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Similarly, the Taoist flows like water, adapting effortlessly to the contours of life, recognizing that resistance to the natural order leads only to suffering. In this way, both philosophies teach that the external world, be it fickle fortune, cruel fate, or inconstant human beings, is beyond our dominion. What remains, and what truly matters, is our own response. In the realm of modern women, where shifting expectations, conflicting values, and emotional turbulence are commonplace, the Stoic and the Taoist refuse to be drawn into the storm. They do not rage against the feminine nature or attempt to control it. They observe, they adapt, and above all, they maintain mastery over themselves. Today's world relentlessly pushes men toward a posture of dependency, on validation, on attention, on intimacy, offered like a prize for compliance. Modern dating markets are designed to exploit male neediness, turning men into consumers of approval rather than creators of value. Here, Stoicism is a shield and Taoism a sword. Men going their own way embody both. The Stoic learns to desire only that which is within his control, his own virtue, his own reason, his own character. He sees female affection as a gift, not an entitlement or necessity, and thus he remains unshaken when it is withheld or withdrawn. The Taoist, likewise, refuses to force outcomes. He does not chase love or validation. He understands that authentic connection cannot be seized or demanded. It must arise spontaneously, like the effortless unfolding of a flower. In dealing with modern women, this approach renders the man supremely attractive and profoundly untouchable, because he neither clings nor begs. He simply is. Both Stoicism and Taoism demand a retreat from illusions. The Stoics dismantled the myth that external goods, wealth, status, relationships constitute true happiness. They saw that fortune is capricious, that beauty fades, that attachments rot into grief. Taoists, too, warned against the folly of clinging to impermanent forms. Lao Tzu spoke of the need to abandon desires and ego-driven striving, trusting instead in the effortless rhythm of the Tao, the way. A modern man seduced by the mirage of forever love, in a society plagued by entitlement, narcissism, and hypergamy, sets himself up for inevitable despair. But the man who follows Stoic and Taoist principles sees clearly, women, like all beings, are moved by forces larger than themselves: emotions, instincts, social currents. Their loyalty, their affection, their interest, these are leaves blowing in the seasonal winds. The wise man welcomes their presence, but does not anchor his identity to their staying. When they depart, as the seasons always turn, he nods, smiles, and continues walking. Another powerful convergence of these ancient philosophies lies in their shared disdain for reactive living. The Stoic refuses to be a puppet yanked by circumstance. He chooses deliberate, reasoned action over impulsive reaction. Likewise, the Taoist avoids confrontation, preferring subtle influence, patient endurance, and skillful retreat. In dealing with modern women, many men are trained to react, whether to a disrespectful comment, a manipulative gesture, or an unexpected withdrawal of affection. They argue, they chase, they rage, they plead, all futile attempts to control what was never theirs to command. But the man anchored in Stoic and Taoist wisdom does not react. He observes. He allows disrespect to reveal itself. He allows disloyalty to expose its own shame. He neither escalates nor entangles himself in drama. In this restraint lies immense power, because while the world rages like a storm, he remains the mountain, unmoved and unbroken. Furthermore, both philosophies emphasize a kind of sacred detachment that is desperately needed today. Stoicism teaches the premeditatio malorum, the practice of imagining loss in advance so that one might be fortified against it. Taoism, with its reverence for transience, similarly advises that nothing truly belongs to us. Relationships, no matter how passionate, are no exception. A man must enter love prepared to lose it. He must engage fully without becoming enslaved by the outcome. When a modern woman tests, withdraws, or betrays, a reality that even the most virtuous are not immune to, the man grounded in these traditions feels sorrow perhaps, but not ruin. His heart is open, yet unchained. He is able to grieve without collapsing, to let go without bitterness. In this, he transcends the common fate of modern men, who crumble because they invested their entire identity in something as fluid and fragile as another's affection. Ultimately, Stoicism and Taoism are not merely about coping with the modern dating landscape. They are about reclaiming a deeper, older form of manhood. They remind us that masculinity is not defined by possession of women, wealth, or status, but by self-possession, by control over one's mind, emotions, and will. In a world that seeks to pull men into emotional reactivity, financial servitude, and psychological dependence, the Stoic Taoist man is a revolutionary. He is a man who can love without needing, who can walk away without hate, who can engage the world fully without ever being owned by it. He is the silent strength standing against a world intoxicated by noise. In the final analysis, the convergence of Stoicism and Taoism offers men of today not an escape from reality, but a superior engagement with it. It offers not bitterness, but wisdom, not withdrawal, but mastery. It teaches men that the key to navigating modern relationships, and indeed modern life, is not in winning battles over others, but in winning the eternal battle over oneself. He who conquers himself, his impulses, his attachments, his fears, becomes unconquerable. That man is Indecepta. And in this victory, silent and unseen by the world, lies the greatest triumph a man can achieve. The benefits of this path are profound and life-altering. Freed from the burdens of unfair legal systems, biased societal expectations, and exploitative relationships, men going their own way find themselves with an abundance of resources once drained by external obligations. Time, energy, money, and focus. These are no longer sacrificed on the altar of others' demands, but are instead reinvested into personal development. Many of these men find themselves mastering new skills, building businesses, attaining financial independence, traveling the world, delving into philosophy, fitness, art, and even spirituality. Their lives expand where once they were confined. Their minds sharpen where once they were dulled by endless compromise. This is not the bitter withdrawal that critics imagine. It is the flourishing of a man who has realized that he alone is the master of his fate. Critics often accuse men going their own way of being angry or broken, yet they fail to grasp the deeper transformation occurring. Yes, many come to this path through pain, but pain has always been the midwife of wisdom. The heroes of old, Odysseus, Achilles, even the Buddha himself, suffered betrayal, loss, and disillusionment before attaining enlightenment. Men going their own way, properly understood, is not a wallowing in bitterness, but a transmutation of suffering into strength. It is the alchemical process where disillusionment becomes clarity and heartbreak becomes inner peace. It is the recognition that the only chains that can truly enslave a man are the ones he allows to remain around his own mind. This renaissance of masculine independence aligns even with the existentialists of the modern age. Thinkers like Nietzsche spoke fervently of the Übermensch, the man who transcends herd morality to carve out his own values. Sartre and Camus reflected on the absurdity of seeking meaning in a chaotic world and the necessity of creating meaning from within. Men going their own way, perhaps unconsciously, are living these truths. They understand that no system, no institution, no romantic partner will hand them purpose on a silver platter. They must forge it themselves, hammering it on the anvil of solitude and self-reliance. In this forging, they become dangerous, not in the sense of causing harm, but in the sense of being untouchable, incorruptible, living proof that a man who needs nothing from the world is the freest creature alive. It must be understood that men that are going their own way are not the enemy of women, nor is it an attack on love, family, or connection. It is rather a refusal to engage in systems where men's sacrifices are neither honored nor reciprocated. It is the silent protest of the man who recognizes that offering his strength, loyalty, and resources into a rigged game is not noble, but suicidal. Until society recalibrates to honor masculine virtue once again, many men will and should choose to walk alone. In doing so, they preserve the very spirit of masculinity for future generations, standing as monuments to resilience and reason in a time of madness. In the final analysis, This is not a movement of despair, but of profound hope. It signals that men have remembered something they were trained to forget, that their worth does not come from the world's applause, but from their own soul's approval, that walking alone with integrity is infinitely preferable to marching in lockstep with a society that despises them. It is the soul's quiet rebellion against the false gods of consumerism, romantic idealism, and moral decay. In choosing themselves, men going their own way are doing what the greatest philosophers, warriors, and sages of history have always done, reclaiming the divine birthright of freedom and living lives of radical authenticity, in defiance of a world too blind to see the treasure it has lost. Thus remember, we are Indecepta. Becoming Indecepta is the code they never wanted you to learn, a psychological war map for men, forbidden teachings fused with modern strategy for influence, dominance, and self-mastery. If you want peace, prepare for war.